Welcome everyone to the Co-Creators Convergence World Unity Week celebration. Our next guest is someone who's been with us before, and I've really enjoyed her presentations. It's Nancy Pollet, and she has a lot of practical information for us. You know, peacekeeping starts at home. It starts, well, within ourselves, and a lot of homes aren't so peaceful. And we're all part of really a very big family called humanity. So I'm really looking forward to this presentation where we are going to get some practical information from Noelle, who's been through a lot. So she has experienced a lot firsthand, and she's turned that into something to benefit all of us. So without any further ado, Noelle, I'm turning it over to you.
Thank you for coming very much. And everybody else. Robert happens to be from the world where this came from. So I'm very grateful to see you. The world where this came from, Peacework, is a sanctioned adaptation of the Alternatives to Violence project, which was something that was founded in 1975, a few years after the Attica uprising. People who were incarcerated were in a prison not far away where they had been farmed after the brutality, and they said, we got to do something different. How can we help this population of young incarcerated people? And that was how it got born. Quakers were invited in, who in turn invited civil rights leaders. Martin Luther King Jr. was one of the founding fathers in heart. He directed Bernard Lafayette. This stuff has to get institutionalized and internationalized just hours before he was assassinated. And somehow or other, that wish came true in Alternatives to Violence project. People started doing these workshops, stealing from everywhere, Gestalt and other kinds of interactive activities were going on in the 60s into the early 70s. And so they really had a lot of practice and information going into this. And then they created this thing that just took off, and it's been in 65 countries. It's in prisons all over America now, and other countries as well, and in communities, etc. So for me, I was diagnosed with a whole lot of stuff early on, and into my early 30s, I was in and out of mental hospitals and on medications and told, you got schizophrenia, your brain's rotten, you got manic depression and chronic depression and post-traumatic stress disorder and all this stuff, suggestions of really having a horrific life. And so, at that time, it was not very comfortable at all in my skin. And then this workshop just came along and did just after first diagnosis at age 6, it just changed everything in 3 days. So I knew immediately I was going to be involved with this because it was, my salvation as far as being an earthling on this plane. So I started integrating it into everything I did. I started a business called Heart Circle Consulting. And then the main purpose of which was to share Peacework, was what I was calling AVP, with the mental health realm. And that was somewhat productive through the years. And then I just realized every application I could think of, it works in, all kinds of institutional settings. It works. And I had a family issue. An aunt wanted me to hang out by her deathbed. She was preparing to have me hang out by her deathbed so that her adult children would not just try to heal themselves at that moment. She said, I've been working to try to get them into therapy with me, clean up our stuff, and nobody wanted to go. So she was going to pay me to, my airfare and, please come out. And I was like, running interference between you and 3 adult children, I would rather, just stick me in a vat of acid and not fun. So I thought, I got some tools here, and I did my first family circle. And since then I've done about between 30 and 40 of them, and they are always, except for one time when the roommate had a plan to rob his roommate and already in place and only stayed 10 minutes, every one of these has just really netted some profoundly positive outcomes in my experience. So, and, sometimes that means divorce, but I've, 2 divorces where the people are very loving, uncoupled people now. And that didn't look like it was going in that direction at the time. So I really believe in these. I think another big motivation was people come out of prisons and they're different than their families if they've gone through this Alternatives to Violence project for years, and their families have a hard time catching up because they have so much more insight, so much more, interpersonal skill development. So this is one way I thought that they could bring this home with them, maybe, do it with their families. And so I will just launch in. The whole process is about being interconnected, doing things. And I do pray some of you will engage. You don't have your cameras on. Robert's is on. If it's just me and Robert, we'll show you how it goes, man, but it'll be so much more meaningful if you take this risk. And this, I mean, when we're talking peace on earth, it takes getting out of the comfort zone a little bit and doing some stuff that is not our normal thing. So hopefully, and I know I'm with a crew of people that's really good at that stuff. So, okay. There's Noelle, woohoo! So I'm gonna share my screen on and off and to show the agenda. And this is the agenda. Here we go. Unity Week, Peace Work Family Circles. There is a structure, and the structure always is the same, and that is the container in which we all grow safety together. This is the agenda preview piece I'm going to do. I invite somebody who is willing to just lead us in a brief little grounding to get us connected with our hearts. That's not actually part of AVP, but it really does bring me into a peaceful state, and usually others. Then a gathering is a chance for everyone to speak, have their voice heard without any interruption. And in this case, I would, keep it short and simple, like just a sentence if everybody wanted to give one. And then what's great about us, brainstorm, Alternatives to Violence Project and Peace Work, sort of have a structure where you begin with affirmation that makes everybody want to wow, this kind of feels good. I don't always follow the building blocks or mature kind of emotionally the group is. I don't always need to follow every rule with every group. So light and lively, past the family funny face. It's just some quickie little thing that just makes us laugh. When there's a lot of energy of trauma and it's coming up, you don't have to cry it out. You can laugh it out. And that was one of the most productive healing things for me and my, slew of mental illness diagnosis, was that I would get into the depths of my pain. And the next thing you know, I was running around like a 6-year-old laughing my hiney off. So then I made this one up last night with the help of On High. I always ask for help to create exercises. This is called Dressing the Naked Emperor, a little exercise. And then I'm going to have the resources reposted in the chat if you don't see them. Some new people may not see them. And then closing, if I never. So those were the little, hopefully we get that done cleanly in an hour. When I do family circles or any kind of circles, I generally give folks a opportunity to create the safety agreements that they feel they need, so in this I'm asking, can we go with these few right to pass if anything doesn't feel comfortable to you? Elegance is in try to keep it short and simple so every voice is heard. That is a main piece of the magic, is that we really have a fairly equal, I think of it like the flocks of birds. I'm the boss today in this moment and you're the boss in that moment, and then let's go over here, and that kind of the flow develops where everybody's equally valued, and just affirmation. So those are some elegant agreements that I hope that we can all live with for the next little bit. How do I get myself out of here? Okay, one more thing. I just going to go back to my agenda. There it is. And okay, so the first thing I would like to do is invite you. Was that you, Nancy, that had something you wanted to lead, just to get us into a nice calm state?
No,
Yeah.
it was
Okay, that's good.
Okay, to the Creator, by whatever name you choose, put bliss in our hearts right now, calmness, serenity, tranquility. Help us to feel these words, not just think them, but really feel them, and be more divine and sacred and holy. And thank you for this workshop. And here we go with this journey. Okay, amen here.
Bless you. That was beautiful and really just what I needed in that moment, which is the magic of this process. Because I just feel like, it helped me get, a little bit out of my head and more into my heart. And that was just perfect. And it always is that way. The Alternatives to Violence Project and myself have this kind of basic concept underpinning everything. They call it transforming power. I will call it peace presence, but it's the idea that something is out there that exists as us, it has us, through us, comes to us, whatever, that can, transform a moment, a dynamic, a life. And that's what that beautiful opening just spoke to. So the next thing on line here is, did I not send it? Oh yeah, there it is. 2 messages. So something infinitely precious I've received from my family is, and the moment I said it, I just felt weepy. I have a tremendously interesting family. I just posted on my Facebook page the 5 male people in my life that are the most, influential father figures. And if I hadn't had what I had, which involves a significant, what I consider neglect and some trauma, I would not have any of this that enriches my life today. I am profoundly appreciative of both the unique, enjoyable aspects, which I did not notice much of then, but I see them now, and the horror. So I'm going to pass that on. If you could keep it about that short or even shorter, I'd appreciate it. Just a sentence or 2 would be awesome. So I'm going to pass to Robert, and then Robert can pass to the next person and so on. Thank you. The thing was, something infinitely precious I've received from my family is.
As I was growing up, I feel I had regular emotional support from my family, which I treasure.
There's someone.
Thank you, Noelle, Pollet, for this session. At 65 years young now, what I've received is myself, becoming myself. It's been a bit like in the forge of life, but I'm relatively happy with who I am. Thank you.
Now, the question or the gathering statement was something incredibly precious I received from my family, from interacting with my family. Is that what you feel you
that's
responded to?
Yeah, my becoming and who I am now.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I missed a little cue there. Good. Go ahead, Noelle. Or
I would say that something incredibly precious I received from my family was that we like to laugh and have a good time. So that's something that we enjoy, and we're kind of a crazy crew. I'm one of 15, so I'm in the middle, so it's all good. I got bossed around by half, and I bossed the other half around, so I'm balanced. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else with a desire to share their? Yes, Nancy.
Yes,
Usually,
I appreciate the fact that our family in New Jersey loved quietness, and we had acceptance. There was just even with my grandparents, relatives, back in the 50s and 60s, I'm 74 years young. And yeah, everything was acceptance. I even became a biologist, and that was a man's world, and nobody ever said no to me about that. Nobody ever said yes, but it was just an acceptance we had back in the in New Jersey area. The whole school system, everything was more acceptance. So that's what I appreciate. Thank you.
Wonderful. And Bob is up. Normally it would be one person passing to another, because normally we're in a circle. So it's just the next person in the circle.
Thank you. Something that's precious, certainly taken for granted during all those months, years, and decades. But something precious is the simple fact that I'm still here. The fact that there was the protection, whether regardless of emotions and things that took place during all of those years of when I was a minor, and the continued support of the surviving family that's still on the planet today is precious to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This twinkling thing is to just show appreciation and love. So I do that a lot. Okay, so the next thing we got on our agenda is, I'm going to sort of show the share screen again, and this is just one of many choices of an exercise. The last time I did this on World Unity Week, I did a throwing magic beans common ground exercise. This one is Control B. I'm going to just go. So I'm going to make this a little bigger and do the actual brainstorm. So let us pretend here that we are one family. I mean, we are, but we're the one family that we grew up with that put the wounds in there and put the wonder in there, or at least helped us to decide what was a wound and what was a wonder by doing stuff. And so think about your own family when you throw a few things in here, but imagine, like, here we are, you're with your family, and they're throwing things out too. So if this was an actual family gathering, it could be a number of people, it could be two, it could be a husband and wife, or a mother and child, or anything like that. What's great about us? And just think, just a few pop out popcorn style, everybody's voice is welcome. Some stuff that's great about us. Like, I will just say, for my family, unusual. Holy moly, I had some, I don't know that I loved it then. but I do now. Anybody else got something that's great about their family? What else did
Community.
I have? Vision.
An appreciation for other cultures and other good food.
And what was the thing after that?
And the good food of other cultures.
I want to go to your house.
Me too. This was good food. When you're doing a brainstorm, you write exactly what you hear. You don't fix it. The only thing you would do is say, if it's too long or something, could you state that in a shorter way or something like that? Or could you explain that a little better, or whatever you need? But just honor the person, whatever they say, because then you won't get your family mad at you for, or if some other family. So, okay, I'm going to leave it pretty much there. So you get the idea. So in a family circle, you could have everybody like, what's great about us? And you'll really be exploring the positive things that are happening or have happened, and it puts people on a footing of, oh, I am a part of a tribe that has some value. I have done some things with groups that did not like each other in the moment, but when they were kind of put into a position of finding those things that, what is it about our tribe that I value? What is it about our tribe that has made me who I am? What is it about our little family, group? And I've done these with board meetings. I've done these with, all kinds of roommate situations. And so what is just phenomenal about us? What do I value? So just this kind of appreciative inquiry style of doing things. And then once people are really feeling warm about each other, it's much more easy to wrangle the stuff that's more difficult. And the idea behind how one does that in these circles is that it's non-confrontational means of bringing up difficult things. So the energy can come up, and we can deal with it, but we're not dealing with it directly. And I'll give you just a couple of examples of exercises. One is tell me what I want, what I really, really want, so that each family member's name is in a hat. We pull one out. Okay, it's Bobby. Bobby's got some his whole family knows what he wants. They know him well, so they are gonna be, Bobby wants people to listen to him. Bobby always feels like he's the last person to get listened to. So that's what Bobby wants. Bobby wants, he'd really love to have his career take off. He probably loves some support in having his career take off. And so you list all the things about Bobby, and when you're done, Bobby gets to say, that's true, that's true, that's true, that's not true, or I feel a little bit differently about that. So he gets to hear everything he wants to say out of other people's mouths. That's an incredibly powerful way for Bobby to be heard, and he just tends to feel like, and that's how everybody gets to feel in the family when we go through this process of every voice tell me what I want, what I really, really want. So that's a powerful non-confrontational way to get things said. Then there's another exercise called proclamations in the pond, where everybody writes in their non-dominant hands like they need to, what if I was the grand poobah of this family and I could have everything going my way? An important proclamation I would make is, and you write it in your non-dominant hand, and everybody pulls one of these out of the pond. I had a big blue bowl all these notes go into, and you read it and you proclaim, I proclaim we would have a dinner time every night where we all sit down together and explain how our day went. And then you would chime in about, that would involve our getting our calendars all together and, whatever it takes to do that. And then the king asks his advisors, or the great grand poobah asks his advisors, or her advisors, however is most meaningful for you to do this. And then the advisors help with any kind of practical ways of bringing this thing to happening. So that is another exercise where your issue is brought up, but it's not coming out of your mouth. Somebody else is processing it and getting, some moving towards some action or accomplishment. So that's an example. So always in this structure, right behind me, you see it, is a light and lively. And light and livelies, I think I mentioned before, allow for the energy that is up that might have come into some kind of, meaningful moment of, that might be painful or something, to be dispersed through play. So everything about, entering the kingdom of heaven involves being like a child. I really do feel like that, just that kind of open, surrendered, playful, joyful, all those things that must be part of heaven. And so something light and lively. So I'm just going to ask whoever's got their camera on, and if you feel like participating, you give your camera, to pass the face, and we would do this in the circle. And so I'm going to pass a face that maybe somebody in the face, a face that represents absolute something we all love about this person in our family. I'm going to try to make that face. So, like I've got, this is my stepfather when he was a younger man, and he was my nemesis, but he would do this little kind of cute little face. So hopefully everybody would know who that face was. And so I'm going to pass my cute little face, and then I'm going to see if Robert can duplicate that face to some degree. Perfect. And when he's done that, he gets to, I say, yes, you succeeded. And then he gets to pass the next face he wants to make. So you might, perfect. And then he passes that to Noelle. And how does she do it? Okay, and I go, and if she thinks I'm okay with that, then we have succeeded. We've gone around the pass the face circle. So if you're in the family, there's a possibility that would make everybody laugh. Light and lively's ideally involve getting up and moving, some form of activity. So you might actually have people running around and imitating each other that way, or do something completely out of the family, because you might actually trigger somebody with something that's pointing to something, a family member might not think it's as funny as you do. So that might not be ideal, but think it out. We have so many great exercises in the manuals from the Alternatives to Violence Project, and those resources are in the chat, or will be again. So you really want that feeling of flow in the group, and the family gets to decide who's in charge. If it's like, no, this isn't for us. I brought 3 hours worth of family stuff to families and done it in 2 hours. There's always a peace kit opportunity, or a peace talk is what I have. And if anybody emails me, I can send you some extra handouts. And that's one of them. And it's just basically instructions for the talking stick. And that would be offered at the end for, whatever amount of time people agree to. And usually if I do it, it's just once or twice, because they really feel like so much has been accomplished by that time, that they don't have a lot of extra energy, feelings, so it's like, oh no, we're good. We, just for now we're good. But it's a wonderful tool once you do the family circle to keep it, that beautiful connection maintained. And these can be done when you're celebrating. You don't have to have it just when the poop hits the fan. You can do it, just because they're simply engaging. Fun. Next was this light and lively. This exercise called Emperor. It's called Dressing the Naked Emperor. So the intention of how this would go in a family would be that we would all think about a person in the group who we maybe felt we had a really difficult time with, if that was the purpose, just getting some of this stuff up and out. And we would consider what piece of clothing would represent, like an idea is like a harsh father, like there's a harsh father. What piece of clothing would represent something that if they tried it on, it might make a little energetic difference, just in that, and so I thought harsh father swaddling clothes, some really soft fabric that just held the harsh father in softness and warmth. And so to write that little bit of something on an index card and put it in a central container, and then just anonymously, again, non-dominant hand, so nobody knows for sure 100% who wrote the thing, and then everybody in the circle. And you could do it so that everybody, over time, maybe it would be too much depending on the size of the family, too much for one circle to do it all for everybody. But the idea would be put these articles of clothing into the pot, and then when we've got it all written out, everybody, another one I came up with, like my mother was always trying to keep up with the Joneses. She always wanted to have to look better and have more than everybody else and that kind of thing. And I thought, rags, and then give a little explanation of why rags would be a good thing for the naked emperor to wear. Rags, so that you could walk in some humility and just feel that what it feels like to be humble. So try that on. So everybody takes out these clothes from the central bucket, and then what does it feel like? Okay, here's an item of clothing. So I would just ask a volunteer or two here to suggest, like, I'll think about it too. Go into your family archives and feel your family, and somebody you might have some little challenge with, and like what kind of thing, if they tried it on, might make some kind of a light go on for them. And I'll just give us a little bit of a moment and see if anybody pops up.
I have a brother, oldest brother, and he really acts as if he's king, of the family, and more like a dictator, very authoritarian. So I see him dressed as a as a scribe, and that he's taking like in the Middle East scribe, and he has a pen and he's having to take orders versus giving orders. But I don't know if that's a reversal.
And that is some new mentality for the family circles, is that when people, if you came in with the vision of, if there's something that wakes up something in you that's painful, that it's a golden opportunity. It's not anything to be running from, to lean into the places that feel, difficult, the energies that feel difficult, because thank you. I brought my toy too. I do feel like that's one more exercise we have is, I use a lot of Beanie Babies, and we pile these down, and I think it's using the right brain, like Nancy is doing right now, tons of stuff that you can take yourself out of adult linear thinking mode and put yourself into, like, here's an example. Like if you had a bunch of toys, she's got, okay, we just saw a baby, we saw this little heart unicorn and that first kind of cute little bird thing. I got a worm. So say in your family dynamic, you've got a lot of, so-and-so in my family is always, like your big brother, Noelle, that family member is he always seems to take control and he's like the king. And so you could pick up a little king finger puppet. And then, and how does that make you feel? Well, that makes me feel like a worm. And I got a worm in my hand, by the way. And so then you write the dynamic, king worm, and put it on a card on the floor, and then all the family members do the same thing with their dynamic. I love Nancy because she's got a magical quality and she shows up like a child. So I'm going to grab the unicorn to represent Nancy. How does that make you feel about yourself? Well, that makes me feel playful. So what's a playful little representation? Okay, over here I see this, little frog that looks like it's hopping. All right, so my family taught me self-reliance. Okay, so would anybody else like to dress their family in anything? I'm going to just think for a moment what I would like. Oh, you got one. Great.
Well, I came in late, so I don't want to be disruptive, but if it's okay, I'll chime in.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I appreciate you and Nancy sort of modeling what this is all about. But I was thinking to my mother, and she passed a couple of years ago, and she was always, you were talking about a scribe. She was always sort of like keeping everything on schedule. She took minutes at the family meetings, things like that. And she didn't really love the role, but she put herself in that role and she was good at it. And it's sort of like, you get good at doing the dishes and then everyone's like, oh, you just do the dishes. Sometimes we make roles for ourselves that we're good at and then we're kind of stuck with them. So on some level, she had this role that she kind of fought with, that she was good at, but she kind of wished she wouldn't. Like she'd go on a trip and she'd have her whole trip like itemized, so you knew where she'd be, so you could call her if you wanted to. And it was nice, but she sort of like was obsessed with organizing, and part of her wanted to let go of it. So I was thinking, just dressing her in like a flowing skirt that was less restrictive. And she would do that sometimes, like in a corporate environment. She'd kind of be the one that was kind of jazzy attire. So I just wanted to put a nice flowing skirt on my mother and let her be free of all that.
That's cool. I just saw your mother in tie-dye and she was at Woodstock.
Yeah, she wasn't, but she was on some level. Probably. Yeah. Thanks for
That's
letting me share.
beautiful. That's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. I thought I would invite you, Nancy, to dress me in something. What would you dress me in to slow me down a bit?
Panda bear,
A panda bear.
panda bear outfit.
I was just imagining myself naked, wrapped in a panda bear.
Cute and
Thank you.
cuddly, yeah.
That's very lovely. Thank you. So anybody else with I'm trying to think what I would like a family member of mine to put on.
What would you put me on, Noelle?
Okay, let me see.
I think you froze.
Yeah, I'm still thinking. I first thought I thought was a lily pad is what came to mind. A lily pad. I don't know quite why, so you'll have to help me with that. I'm feeling a little like there's much control coming from over there. That is an interpretation. And I'm wondering what family member did I manifest in you to be here? That's so cool, because that's another thing we do is invite our outer experience to represent what's going on inside us, and some new insights that come.
Well, just consider me a world family member. Don't compare me to one of your family members, just me. I'm your family. There's 7 billion family members. So
Yay! That's awesome.
I mean, I would turn Robert into a teddy bear. He just looks like I don't know, a teddy bear. And Julian, I'd turn into a raccoon for some reason. I don't know why, but they're cute, and yet they're on a mission, and they're aggressive but playful, and yeah, even the people on that don't have their videos on, then that's more still. It's like a rock, a spool of thread. I don't even know, but it's fun to imagine.
I think why I wanted you on a lily pad is I was thinking of the lotus, just this peaceful, many things. So if that was something to try on, I don't know if you need to try that on, but reverential respect and gratitude, Noelle, and everyone mindfully presencing her. I love that. That's peace. We can do peace. We can do peace even when we have our egos tweaked. We can do peace. And family circles are so alive and rich and able, to invite the color, invite, I don't, right brain activities where you draw, like, this is how I would love to see our family, or just any kind of activity that you might have them all drawing on one piece of paper. This is kind of cool because I am slowing down. You succeeded, Nancy. And it's
You're
funny
me
how the
over
clock
there.
seems to
You're me over there. Everyone here, that's me over there. Robert is me. That's me over
That's
there.
true. That is
Julian,
true.
that's
You're
my
right. You're
grandfather's
right.
name. Yeah, Julian. I'm Noelle. Whatever I like in Noelle, I like in me. Whatever I don't like in Noelle, I don't like in me.
Like
I
it.
have to change me, the pattern, not the person, the pattern.
Thank you.
I do want to jump into this discussion because we have about 5 minutes left. So, I just want to let you know that. So,
Right. Okay. So, well, we really did most of the trick here. And, I learned, I grew, and that is always what happens to me when I do these. I always share from the perspective of a person in a family as well. So if I'm, the dynamics that are going on in front of me, I'm always sharing very honestly and rawly, whatever is my truth. So if people feel safe, they get to choose the direction. I just sort of facilitate, but I have these opportunities. At the end of it, I will offer that talking stick time. And I think you got the general picture. And I learned a lot today. I'm very, very grateful for this experience. And I'd like to open it to others. If you wouldn't mind pasting those resources in there. I have a piecework toolkit that explains this in great detail on both of my websites that are listed. I listed both websites because I used to have a business, not I used to have a business, and now I moved it into a ministry. And right now there's some kind of confusion about the legitimacy of my nonprofit ministry. So I'm checking into that. So I'm not hitting anybody up for any donations or anything like that. But always the Peace Kit has been a free, gift. So you may download that. If you email me, there's some other handouts I can give you if you're really interested in borrowing this. I have been in family, therapy and stuff like that. This stuff far and away surpasses anything I have ever heard of or experienced personally with families. And the outcomes have been really beautiful and remarkable. There's a chapter coming out in a book that AVP is publishing, Alternatives to Violence Project, that is just all about family circles.